This weekend on the Rochester Press Box from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the garage door.
I'm Toby Motyka, and I'll tell you why one game shouldn't determine your opinion on Peyton Manning.
And I'm John Ditullio. I'll tell you what NFL team makes the Buffalo Bills look like the Patriots.
I'm Mike Catalana. I'll tell you why Bill Belichick finally talks and he said the wrong thing.
And I'm Bill Pucko with the legend of Jeff Van Gundy. Join us on the Rochester Press Box this week. The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Salvatore's at the garage door on 49 Ridge Road East in Irondequoit. Rochester's choice winner for Best Pizzeria, featuring Wacky Wing Wednesday, John Ditullio Trivia on Thursday, and the Super Slice. It's as big as your head. Games are always on at the garage door, home to the Rochester Press Box. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria and the garage door on East Ridge Road in Irondequoit. I'm Bill Pucko, and happy again once to be joined by John Ditullio.
Pleasure's mine, Billy.
WHTK. From 13 WHAM News, a couple of guys. Mike Catalana, as always.
Yep.
And Toby Motyka. It's great to have you back, Toby.
Good to be back, yeah.
The news at 10 o'clock, going well, guys?
Yeah, we're enjoying it. A lot more time for sports, like we always talk about, so we're enjoying it. So we got a little Fox Rochester, a little 13 WHAM together.
Making the community better. Look, we've all had a chance pretty much to knock around the whole Richard Sherman thing in his post-game production. The second layer is the thing I kind of wanted to get into today. Jeff Pearlman, who's a syndicated writer now, used to write for SI.com, took Erin Andrews absolutely to task for being an inadequate sideline reporter in that situation, that she looked like a deer in the headlights is one of the things he said, and he compared her to the Kardashians. Toby?
I don't know. It's kind of an odd situation. It was uncomfortable for pretty much anybody watching, whether you agreed with what Richard Sherman said or not. It was awkward. Part of that always does end up going on the reporter. You have to take control of the situation. But I feel like what Pearlman wrote might have been a little unfair. It coming on a little too strong on someone. You can fault Erin Andrews on a number of things. I think this one, maybe she deserved a little bit more
You
of a
get compared to Kardashian, and that's a serious shot.
That's weak. I mean, I think that's weak. And unless you've been in that spot in live TV and know what that's like, look, she gets paid for that, and that's her job. She has to be ready. I didn't think she was great, but I didn't think she was awful. I liked her reaction when she put it on him. You know, who's talking about you? I would have liked her to have one more question. I don't know why Fox pulled out of the interview at that point. I would think for whatever reason they were more concerned with something Richard Sherman said. If they were protecting their interviewer, then that's not a good thing, because that shows lack of confidence in somebody you're paying a lot of money to do that job. But I really don't think that's the case. I don't think she was intimidated. I think she reacted like most people would have. I would have liked to have heard her get another question or
Fox
two.
should have allowed her to have a few follow-up questions. My only question is, if that's Tony Siragusa doing the interview, are they pulling the plug? That's all I want to know. Did they not have faith in Erin Andrews, or are they afraid he's going to say something? They've got this guy, a loose cannon. That, to me, that's a ratings bonanza. You've got a home run, a guy who just made the play of the game popping off, and you cut out of that?
Yeah, I think
to me, somebody at Fox dropped the ball, not Erin Andrews. The powers that be dropped the ball.
It's a little bit sexist, because I think because it was Andrews in there, I said somebody says whether they meant it consciously or not,
believe that is.
there was a factor of this. We've got to protect our girl.
Yeah, and I didn't think she lost control of the interview. I thought she asked.
She wasn't given a chance to lose
she was
control
not,
of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
I thought she asked a natural question. He's angry. Somebody's talking about me. Okay, who's talking about you? And she reacted that way. She needed the chance to ask more questions.
And that's a thankless job to begin with.
Yeah.
But I go back, if Siragusa is doing that interview, there's no way they're pulling the plug. So I think it could come down to they didn't have faith in her, or it's a sexist decision. I don't know.
It gave us a chance to look at it again, because they go all the way back to Phyllis George, when women were just starting to get their foot in the door in network sports, and it was all because of their looks back when it started.
Yep.
And I thought we'd reached a place where we could be comfortable with this, but maybe we haven't.
Really, to pin that much blame on her when he wasn't actually in the room, I don't know.
Yeah, and just so the viewers know, I mean, you guys know what it's like. You got an earpiece, you're listening, producers in your ear saying, get out of it. Now, there are people in our business that would just ask another question anyhow.
Got it.
You can tell me to get out. I'm going to get one more question in. Because
Is
well,
Bob
he knows.
Costas getting
we
one
all done
question?
that.
Is Bob Costas getting one question and then that's it?
Yeah,
Or
I
Dan
mean,
Patrick?
Or even Tony Saragusa,
Well, that
who
would
was
be a
on
better-
otherwise, is just awful. The New York Yankees austerity plan. when we come back. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria, the Garage Door Restaurant in Irondequoit, East Ridge Road. I'm making sure I get the name right. Masahiro Tanaka is the name that we're all going to know a lot about this coming baseball season, John. The signing, what's it mean to these guys?
Well, I mean,
does it fix everything?
Well, it fixes that they have, I believe now, a number one. A lot of people, including me, don't feel Sabathia has number one stuff anymore. He went 24-0 in the Japanese league, which is, let's face it, it's AAA baseball. He gives them a solid number one. It doesn't fix much. It fixes their starting rotation in the fact that you got now Tanaka, and they're comparing him to Yu Darvish out of Texas with Sabathia, and then you got Kuroda. Doesn't fix their infield, which is a complete mess. They have spent almost, $485 million this offseason with Beltran, Jacoby Ellsbury, now Tanaka and Brian McCann. This all comes back to the Red Sox, by the way, winning the World Series. Had Boston not won the World Series, I firmly believe this, the Yankees would have been on that austerity budget as you teased. I really believe Boston winning forced the Steinbrenners to now do something. This is overreaction by the Steinbrenners.
It's a formula that's worked before for the New York Yankees, right? Almost to the dollar.
Well, if you're talking about the last time when they did this, when they got, CC and they got to share and they ended
missed
up
the
winning,
playoffs and did that.
and then came back and won. But to John's point, too, they have so many holes to fill on that roster. I hate their their regular 8-man lineup. I don't like it. Still don't like their outfield. I think they have guys like Beltran, who's good in the clutch, but he's an older guy. I'm still worried about Ellsbury staying healthy and playing the whole year. McCann is never healthy playing. They're going to have all those issues. They're trying to get Jeter back. They're trying to get Teixeira back. I think, don't be surprised. I still think Andy Pettit will come back out of retirement. He'll be pitching again for him a year. Who knows what's going to happen with the bullpen? This is just spending money like the Yankees, and this guy better be great. Because they're paying him to be great.
Yeah, here's the thing about signing an ace, though, is it pushes every other pitcher down one slot. So CC Sabathia was your ace, now he's your number 2. He's matching up against a completely different set of pitchers. Kuroda pushed down a slot. Nova pushed down a slot. It helps everybody. It has a ripple effect. The issue is we don't know what we're getting. I hear that he's going to come in and beat Curt Schilling with that split-finger fastball that he has. I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah. These are major league hitters, not the Japanese Pacific League hitters.
If he Daisuke Matsuzaka, they're in a whole heap of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
He has to be Yu Darvish.
People do forget for 1 year, Matsuzaka was actually pretty good.
Yeah, but 7 years, 155 mil. He needs to be what CC Sabathia has been to the Yankees, a guy who's going to win games and give you a lot of innings.
And not every guy adjusts to the culture and the pressure. Yeah. It's coming to New York to begin with. It's a totally different world, and they're just penciling him in, number one guy, and I think that's tough to do.
Even look at Darvish, which has to be the ceiling for this guy. It took him 2 years.
Yes.
I think the Yankees, they won't have the patience for it, but they got to give him a year to adapt, don't you think?
Well, they're giving him Sabathia money. Sabathia got, 160 mil, 161 when he signed 7 years? They get, maybe a year. I don't know if they'll be that patient. I mean, you gotta hope he wins anywhere between 15 to 20 games out of the gate.
Yeah. So look,
right?
they got to the World Series in 2009, having invested the $500 million after missing the playoffs in 2008. What are the chances it works again, Toby? You're the pinstriper here, right?
Oh, I'm a Twins fan.
Oh, I thought you were a Yankee guy.
I'm just feeling sad right now. That's how I feel most of the time. But when you look at it with the Yankees, can you imagine right now if the Red Sox win another World Series, what the ripple effect on that will be? Boston doesn't look like it's going anywhere, but with Tanaka, we just don't know. There's just no way to know. It has to work out. He has to be an ace from day one, but we just don't know.
I think we'll be a lot more competitive with the Red Sox this year, Speaking on behalf of Yankee Universe.
Hey, all this is Moneyball 3. You have Moneyball 2. This is Moneyball 3 for the Yankees.
All right, I guess I have to give you that.
Throwing the money around. That's what I'm talking about.
Throwing the money ball thing. Like it or not, we'll be back. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant, East Ridge Road in Irondequoit. Wacky Wings Wednesday, good deals on chicken wings with the beer, and live music on Friday, like it or not. And so you guys are both going. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
A snowy Super Bowl. Look, they're predicting weather system coming through there Friday.
Yeah. For the game itself, let's look at it this way. We have games, big games, championship games in bad conditions all the time. that part is no different than any other championship game. It's just we've never seen it in the Super Bowl. And in terms of being in a cold weather game leading up to it, forget the game itself. I mean, I was at the Super Bowl in Minneapolis, cold, brutal conditions, but the game was in the Dome. This is the first time we've had both together for a whole week. The Super Bowl is not like any other game. We can complain all we want. It's not a game for the regular fans. People spend a lot of money. The NFL does it this way. I think they're going to do it this way. I think it's going to go off, typical of the NFL. There'll be some hitches, but it'll work. But I think this will ruin it for any other cold weather city to have a game, because I think most sponsors, big money people, are going to hate the fact that there's the cool thing about going to the Super Bowl when you buy your tickets is being there for 4 hours before the game and taking the whole thing in. Nobody's going to want to do that on Sunday, and I think that's a problem.
Let me go to New York for a week. I mean, if you're going to have it in a cold weather city.
Right.
Let me be in Manhattan, all over Midtown Manhattan. I think it's going to be fine. We just love to complain. And I think all the people, at least in my business, those are the ones complaining.
Well, but
We're
we've had,
complaining.
I mean, in Dallas the one year for the Super Bowl, it was 8 degrees and an ice storm.
Yeah.
But the game was inside. The big difference this time is that the game is outside. But I'm not even talking about the players used to. I'm saying is, fan-wise, they're going to hate it, and they're the people spending the big money, and that's why the NFL will change. They don't care about the regular fans. They'll care about the big money
But something
fans.
tells me if they had it next year in Washington, D.C., I think the fans would pony up.
Oh, they probably still
pony
would, because it would
The
be
NFL
there,
can kick around the fans all they want. They'll keep coming back.
And let's see, like it or not, we've gone from cold to warm. How about the Australian tennis in 111 degrees down in Melbourne?
It's not fun playing tennis when it's 85 and humid. 111 degrees. Not only is that unpleasant, it's dangerous. That's a sport where you have aerobic bursts of activity for extended periods of time. Your heart rate goes through the roof. You can't do that. I mean, these guys do, but when Australia is postponing games because of heat, you know you have a problem. It seems to me something that can easily be fixed if you move it up or back just a little bit. I know you're always taking a risk with the weather, but come on, 111 degrees is too much. And also the fans. You talk about fan enjoyment with the Super Bowl. I don't want to go watch Grand Slam tennis in 111 degrees.
You know, the defense is the culture. He says you go to play the Australian Open. I mean, it's grass at Wimbledon, it's clay in France, it's heat in Australia.
But you're playing in a big city, not the outback. You know, if that's where I would expect to be roasting in 111 degree heat, stranded in the outback with some weird animals out there, not in a big city on a tennis court that should have better technology and better conditions.
With some weird animals.
I
like that.
for sure.
Johnny, like it or not, we know him, we love him, Calder Cup
love
champion
it.
in 1996, John
Every sport,
Tortorella.
he's a character. I love it, actually. Listen, John Tortorella was issued a challenge by Bob Hartley. He could have said, I'm going to throw out my first line. No, you challenge me. No one challenges John Tortorella to a fight. And that's what Bob Hartley did. He put out his goon line, so to speak. I'm going to do the same thing. Doesn't excuse the fact he tried to break into the Calgary locker room.
Right.
But that's John Tortorella. He is a psycho, which at times is good and sometimes it's bad for the NHL. But listen, with John Tortorella, you know what you're hiring. You're hiring a loose cannon.
Yeah, I love Torts, and you know, when he was here in '96, it was great. I got to know him a little bit when the Amerks won the Cup that year, and I think he's great. But a little hypocritical here because I've seen him go after other coaches. Remember with Hitchcock going after him, saying, "Don't act like the tough guy. You're not the guy in the room," and all. I don't like him trying to get by players to go, and it's a sacred thing. The room in hockey, you're not trying to go
Was
with
it
the
a
other
statement
teams.
for his players?
It might have been, but that's the
which
key
I
where
think.
hey, go up on the glass like you
Yeah.
do. Scream at Hartley on the other side. I know they hate each other. That part I had the problem with because that's what he's criticized other coaches for doing.
That being said, the image of him being held back against 30 uniformed hockey players on the other side of the locker room.
Which brings us
is
full
awesome.
circle on the show because we start off talking about Richard Sherman and the whole idea that this whole thing was contrived. He wanted to do this. Tortorella wants to do this because they're making statements. Are they really thinking that far ahead?
Maybe. Maybe
Tortorella
Tortorella
might be.
was. I think he was.
He does like to send messages, and I think maybe at that point going after somebody like that, I think he wanted his team to see that. But I'm telling you, he's been all over other coaches for doing similar
First time I've ever
things.
seen a fight break out in the first second of a hockey game.
Oh, yeah.
1 second.
Well, they
Boom.
put out their fourth lines.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria, best pizza in town, at the Garage Door Restaurant, East Ridge Road in Irondequoit. Unfinished business, Johnny.
There's only 32 NFL head coaching jobs, so when one opens, you figured everyone's going to jump at it, right? Not so fast, my friends. The Cleveland Browns, and we were talking earlier, they make the Buffalo Bills look like the Patriots. Like the Patriots or the Bills are owned by Robert Kraft. What's going on in Cleveland? Nobody wants the job. 3 guys have turned down the job. Why, you ask? Various reasons. Number one, they had a coach a year ago, like their 8th choice with Rob Chudzinski. Nobody wanted the job a year ago. They hire Rob Chudzinski. He gets fired after 1 season. Their owner, Jimmy Haslam, is under investigation by the FBI. And let's remember, Michael Lombardi is running the show in Cleveland. Here's a team that has 2 first-round picks, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths, yet nobody wants the job. Heck, this may end up hurting the Buffalo Bills. After all, Mike Pettin has interviewed twice for the job with the Cleveland Browns. I can't figure this out. The Browns have been a mess ever since they came back to the NFL in 1999. I know who would want the job. I know Marty Schottenheimer would want the job. And I believe Sam Riccigliano, if still alive, would want the job. I can't figure out how bad or how toxic this job has gotten in such a year. Nobody wanted the job a year ago. They had a hard time hiring a guy a year ago, and they're having the same problems this year. Bad ownership, bad leadership with that organization.
So if it's too late to embrace the Baltimore Ravens as your history, you know, they disowned them when the team moved, but
it's a mess.
Maybe they can get them back.
Oh, 1 playoff appearance since '99, and that's been it. And they're going nowhere fast.
Kill the Bills if they lost Pettin on them.
Yeah.
Toby.
I'm going to talk about Peyton Manning a little bit. Here's a guy who, coming into this year's playoffs, was known as a choke artist in the postseason. And while he wasn't necessarily that, there's no question he wasn't as good in the playoffs as he was in the regular season. Well, this year he has the greatest statistical season a quarterback has ever had in the NFL, comes into the playoffs and takes down Tom Brady and the Patriots with a near-perfect game. So now suddenly the narrative has completely shifted. If Peyton Manning wins this Super Bowl, is he unquestionably the greatest quarterback to ever play in the NFL? My question to those people, why does this big sweeping statement, rest on one single game? What if Peyton Manning goes out there, lights it up, and loses 37-34? What if he goes out there, stinks it up, and wins 10-3? I don't quite understand why this one game can determine so much. He's made 3 Super Bowls, he's won 1, maybe 2. He just had the best statistical season ever, one of the best statistical careers ever. Why not just leave it up for debate, and we'll go from there.
When did that happen? When did we this grading?
Twitter.
You think that's a Twitter thing?
Yeah.
Twitter.
If you told me I'm stuck with Favre, you're stuck with Marino, and you're stuck with Joe Montana,
We're all happy.
I'd sign up for that tomorrow. I mean, this is ridiculous, that conversation.
Let's go to the guy who Peyton Manning eliminated in the playoffs, our buddy Bill Belichick. Look, we all laugh about a lot of things Belichick does and all, but I think the guy's a brilliant coach. I think he's the best coach in the NFL. And I've said before, I think every coach should wear a bracelet that says WWBD, what would Belichick do? Because he normally does the smart thing, the right thing, and gets his team to play. And he did a great job this year. But he ended it by serving up a big bowl of sour grapes. His comments about Wes Welker with Aqib Talib, I thought went way beyond anything Belichick normally does. For everything else about the guy, he respects the game and understands how it's played. He knows there's a pick play. He knows they do it all the time. And he knows Wes Welker did it just like his guys did it. And maybe it was a bit of a cheap shot, depending on how you want to look at it. Maybe. But to call it the worst play he's ever seen and to criticize his former player because he's mad that guy didn't follow the Patriot way and walked out, I thought was weak. I thought that was beneath what Belichick normally does, and he surprised me. This time, I'd tell coaches, don't do what Belichick did.
Yeah, brought it up totally on his own, too.
Yep.
That wasn't in response to a question. I got text messages last Monday from people I hadn't heard from in years. Turns out, oh, by the way, Tracy Bush says hello to everybody. It turns out that a picture of me wound up on ESPN interviewing Jeff Van Gundy from 1985. It poking fun at Van Gundy for having hair once, I guess, and when I had a mustache. But it brought up, Van Gundy's is an interesting story, is how we arrived from that picture to where Van Gundy is now. It's a story worth telling. Van Gundy went to Brockport High School 2 times. He was all-grade at Rochester, went to Nazareth, graduated in 1985, and was so impressive as a player, as a leader, that McQuaid immediately hired him as a coach right out of college. He spends 1 year as a coach at McQuaid. Rick Pitino comes up to McQuaid to recruit Greg Woodard, one of Van Gundy's players. He's unsuccessful in getting Woodard, but he's so impressed with Van Gundy that he takes him to Providence with him, where he becomes an assistant. He goes to Providence, goes to Rutgers. Pitino gets a job with the Knicks. He brings Van Gundy with him to join him there, and Van Gundy is an assistant coach through 4 different regimes as New York Knicks head coach before he finally gets that job. He gets it in 1996. He takes the Knicks to the championship round in 1999. The only head coaching job he'd had previously to coaching the New York Knicks was at McQuaid. An unbelievable story that ESPN gave us the chance to retell. Thank you very much. We record the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant every Wednesday afternoon at 12:30. We invite you to come down, watch the show, have some lunch with us. John, thank you as always.
Billy, good
Mike,
stuff.
great.
Thanks.
Toby, good to have you back. Enjoy the
Absolutely.
Super Bowl, you
Thanks.
guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.